here in my garage. Just bought this new Lamborghini here. It's fun to drive up here in the Hollywood Hills. But you know what I like a lot more than materialistic things? These.
Broadcasting from Brisbane, Australia, this is the FOMO Show.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Joe. This is the podcast where you hear about cryptocurrency, blockchain, and future tech in relatively plain English.
We'll help you stay across the crypto world so you don't get the fear of missing out.
You can find us at FOMO.show or by searching for the FOMO Show on your platform of choice. Wait, so episode 12. Keen episode.
It's episode 12, right?
What are we talking about this week?
So this week we're talking about EOS. We're going to check in and give you a general update on EOS.
Crypto bloodbath. It's been pretty intense. So we're going to talk about strategies to take during it.
We're going to do a new segment as well. Just with everything that's been going on, we really think that it's about time we start talking about privacy and security, and so how you can take better care of your crypto and just generally in life as well, using technology. So we're going to start that segment, and we'll probably be having a segment on that every other week. We're going to take a look at a couple of the cryptocurrencies that we think are probably worth a look or another look.
And we're going to go through some of the highlights from the CoinDesk State of Blockchain report. So what have you been up to the last couple of weeks?
Mate, I've been overseas. So for the last almost a month, I've been overseas on holiday. And it's been really good. So I've had to come back to reality. And the stifling heat of Brisbane. For those of you guys that don't know, it is really hot here at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe and I are sitting in a non-air conditioned room, so if we sound a little bit annoyed during the podcast, that's the reason why. But yeah, mate, no, I went to LA for a few days, and then I went snowboarding in Canada for a couple of weeks.
Nice.
And then I came back via Hawaii, and so it was a really, really good trip. It was nice to get away.
Amazing.
What have you been up to, mate?
Oh, I've just been trying to work out different ways of saying it's real freaking hot, because I'm an Englishman living in Australia, and it's a tricky one.
For those of you that haven't experienced Australian heat, the best way to explain it is that you have a shower, and then you'll get out of the shower, and within 5 minutes you'll be just covered in sweat again. So you'll feel really good for those 5 minutes, but after that it's just back to a sweaty existence.
The last couple of weeks, what's been piquing your interest?
Mate, I've been really getting into smart contracts.
Oh, because you were sitting learning Solidity on a plane, weren't you?
Yeah. I think a few people were probably looking at me a bit weird because I basically had my little laptop set up on one side of the tray, and then I had my phone on the other side, which I'd saved a whole bunch of programming lessons on, and then I'd got the pillows that they supply, and luckily I had a spare seat next to me on one of the flights, and I'd stack the pillows up. I'd sit the phone on top, so it was just close enough that I could make out all the little bits of programming that the guy teaching the lecture was typing. And I'd learn programming, so that was that's interesting. And the reason I'm doing it is just because I want to be able to really dig into a lot of these smart contracts a lot more. I've been reading a lot of the documentation on Solidity, which is the Ethereum smart contract language, and a bunch of white papers. The flights were really good for that, just reading a bunch of white papers on a lot of these different concepts and platforms. And mate, I've just been getting more and more excited about smart contracts. I think every time I talk to you about this stuff, I'm like, and you can do this, or you can do that. It's like the possibilities are endless.
Pulls up his phone, shows me an email. He's like, this email could be on the blockchain. It's great.
So that's been what's exciting me, mate. And there's just a lot of really cool projects, and we'll touch on one later, that are working within that space and really trying to tear down a lot of those technological walls so people can make use of the smart contract technology without knowing a lot of the code behind it. So
we'll be catching up on what Matt's been picking up and all the different opportunities that he's spotting that with that. Smart contract is going to be absolutely huge. So we're really excited to talk about that in coming episodes. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Mate, what's exciting you?
Mate, the drop in crypto prices, it's been nice and prolonged. I've been really enjoying it. I mean, I see prices drop and I get so excited, but I kept buying the dip. I kept buying the dip of the dip, and then I kept buying, and then I ran out of money, and now I wait in paycheck to paycheck just to. And the thing is, there's only so much I really there's only so much money you can really put in before you have no money left.
Yeah.
I got to eat food. So it's been exciting though. Some absolute deals on some of those things.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Some of them have dropped a lot more than I think it really makes any sense. You know,
Yeah.
there's some currencies that have dropped from like 40th to like 80th. Like with respective market cap, and it doesn't make a lot of sense because they haven't announced anything bad. Nothing bad's happened, but for some reason, some have just sold off more than others.
When we get into the CoinDesk state of blockchain report, there's some really interesting bits in there. Actually, like one of the bits on how many people check their prices every hour.
Yeah, right.
And that's a really interesting figure. So look forward to that towards the end of our news section.
Cool, mate. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Is this investment advice?
In a word, no. This isn't investment advice. Look, new cryptocurrencies seem to be popping up every day, and it's hard to know which ones are legitimate and which aren't. We're not saying you should buy anything at all. Full disclosure, we're both personally invested in different cryptocurrencies, some of which we talk about on the show, but if we talk about a project, it doesn't mean that you should buy it. You're all adults. If you're not an adult, talk to an adult. Don't spend your parents' money. If you're not an adult,
Well,
at least don't tell them that you're spending their money. But look, basically, do your research, never invest more than you can afford to lose, and please avoid the fear of missing out, because that's when you make worse decisions.
It's true. So if you've never bought crypto before, why not check out our guide at FOMO.show/101. It's got everything you need to know about how to buy, store, and send your first Bitcoin. If you've got a question about anything you've heard or read in the guide, drop us a tweet, email us, or join our Slack message board at FOMO.show/Slack.
If you're new around here and new to crypto in general, you can do worse than checking out our Blockchain Basics series. It starts in episode 2 and continues until episode 8. And what it'll do, it'll give you some grounding in the fundamentals and help you understand what on earth we're talking about. Unfortunately, with this format, being a podcast format, we can't like run through all the basics every episode. And some people say to us, look, love the podcast, but it's kind of hard to understand what you guys are talking about. If that's you, duck back, go back through the archives, download the episodes. You don't have to listen to everything. You can just listen to the Blockchain Basics stuff if you want. We've time-stamped everything in the show notes. So when you go download the podcast, jump into the show notes, and you can actually normally click, especially if you're using Podcast Addict, which is the one I use, you can click on the actual timestamp,
Nice.
and it'll take you there.
Same if you're on YouTube on your desktop.
That's right.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, you can click on it. You'll go straight to the Blockchain Basics segment. Just run through them. Hopefully, you should have a lot better of an idea then about cryptocurrencies in general, some of the technology behind it, and then, what on earth we're talking about.
Amazing.
Cool.
Yeah. So let's jump into some of the news.
So yeah, mate, the first bit of news was that Facebook announced that it's banning ads for cryptocurrency, and this came pretty hot on the heels of all the BitConnect stuff we talked about last time. So for those of you guys that don't know, there's this giant Ponzi scheme called BitConnect. Look it up. There's some hilarious videos on YouTube, but a lot of people have lost a lot of money, and there's some class action lawsuits coming out about the same thing. And what you've probably seen this yourself if you're on Facebook. There's a lot of chatter about crypto, but it's targeting relatively unsophisticated people, and it's all about how much money you can make doing this. It's all about the money, and it's normally people promoting their own products, their own courses to help people understand Bitcoin and how to profit from Bitcoin. And there's been so much of this going around that Facebook have just said, look, we're just going to ban the whole thing for now. Which, look, at the end of the day, they're a company. We use their platform. They can do what they want. But the problem is it's stopped then a lot of legitimate people who are, just wanting to talk about their meetup or advertise an education program or basically anything with blockchain or crypto in it from doing that.
It's interesting that follows up on the Mark Zuckerberg's post we mentioned a couple episodes ago, where one of his goals for 2018 is looking into distributed ledger tech.
Yeah.
And it's, some have even speculated that it's, Facebook's way of blocking competition for an as yet unnamed Facebook coin.
Yeah. That doesn't sound like them at all, though, blocking competition, does it?
Oh, they wouldn't dare. They wouldn't dare.
So in connection with that, there was also news that banks and credit card companies have actually been getting at the banhammer for cryptocurrencies. And so there's this reports of all these people getting letters from their banks telling them, you need to stop buying crypto. We're not actually going to allow you to purchase from these different companies. And at first when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's horrible. You know, how can they restrict these people from doing it? But then you read the stories and there's people getting like $15,000 credit cards, maxing them out on Bitcoin at the top. And then when Bitcoin dropped, being unable to pay the repayments because they got so excited about it was just going up and up. And look, all these people on Facebook probably telling them that it's going to go up and up. And they've maxed out their credit cards. And while I don't agree with, banks just restricting people from doing things, at the end of the day, they have to look after their bottom line as well. And I think that's where the motivation for this has come from, is that they're just saying, well, we're not going to be able to make our money back if we keep offering the opportunity for people to max out their credit cards on cryptocurrency.
So it's like, there have been a lot of stories from the US on that, but I mean, equally, you've seen some stories from Australia and other countries as well. It just continues. So we'll be
which isn't look. It's not a bad thing, I don't think, because the more you try and shut people out from something, generally, the more people want to get at it.
Another little piece, ZDNet. They've ranked the... or is that just ZNet? That's weird. I've never known how to pronounce that. Anyway, they've put a piece out where they're ranking the technologies most likely to change the world by 2028. Now, interestingly, there is no mention of the blockchain or anything like that, or blockchain technology, I should say. But just to go through that list, it's really interesting. You can check out the link in the show notes. They've got syngas and power to gas, so producing fuels from CO2, that's one of them. Neural interfaces, sugar reduction, polyethylene furanoates, bio-based polymer to compete with PET plastics. Got energy distribution system monitoring. You've got edge computing, IoT security, materials informatics, wireless charging, smartwatches, AR, augmented reality, that is, synthetic biology, solid state batteries, microbiomes. So that's harnessing the power of microbes for nutrition, agriculture, and more. And 5G networks, genome editing, 3D printing and additive manufacturing, and machine learning and deep neural networks. So that will save you clicking through a slideshow that just actually has no value.
But no blockchain.
No blockchain.
No blockchain
No
for
blockchain
you. Moving on.
Did you hear about that piece of malware that was using one of the shadow brokers' NSA exploits to mine Monero?
Yeah, look, this is what confused me about these exploits, because it's like the NSA and the FBI and all these other security agencies think they're the only ones that are going to be able to use this stuff. But the moment people figure out how to use them, they can use the same backdoor that the NSA's designed.
Because they've really been sort of just stockpiling all these sort of zero-day exploits, or even just vulnerabilities that they've discovered in computers and haven't necessarily alerted manufacturers to. And probably only when these leaks get published do they let people. Well, that's probably when a lot of the manufacturers find out. Anyway, Proofpoint reported that the Smomindru botnet has been infecting computers since May 2017. Mining about 24 Monero coins per day. So to date, it's reportedly managed to mine about 8,900 Monero, or about $2.1 million at the time of press. So fair enough, some bloke who's gone out there, taken one of the NSA's exploits that they found, just used it against other people. It's lovely. You credit to you. Fair enough.
You got to give him credit.
Yeah, fair enough. Man.
So, mate, there was a Californian city that's going to experiment with UBI, Universal Basic Income, isn't there?
So, this city is looking to give $500 a month to each citizen, I believe, regardless of whether they're employed or not. So yeah, this city of Stockton actually went bankrupt in 2012, according to World News Daily. And for decades, it's been trying to diversify its agriculture-based economy. So yeah, the mayor is behind this, along with a bunch of other backers as well. What they want to do is gather some data, run a test, and see what the impact is of giving everybody in a city $500 a month. And we've had some interesting conversations off the record about universal basic income in the past.
Yep.
Some differing perspectives, but there are some really interesting ideas that come out of universal basic income.
Yep.
But also some real potential problems with it.
We could do a whole episode on universal basic income and the different thoughts on it. But my issue with universal basic income is that generally a market will respond to whatever the financial conditions are that are in society in general. And the problem is if you start giving, in my view, if you start giving people a certain amount of money automatically, what a market will normally do is adjust for that. So we've seen it in the last 60 or 70 years with fractional reserve banking. So a lot of central banks have built in an inflation rate. So they've said we're going to increase the currency by 3%, for example, here in Australia every year. And what companies have done is said, well, if the currency is inflating by 3% every year, then people are getting 3% more every year, then we need to up our prices by 3% every year as well. Because otherwise we're getting less.
It's a race to the top.
Exactly. And that's my fear with this, is that it's essentially just going to make a certain portion of society reliant on this UBI and create the impression that this is, I mean, it's in the name, universal basic income. The impression is that you should probably be able to survive off it. It's enough to kind of get you by if things are really tough and you don't have a job. But if the market adjusts to that and kind of builds that extra amount of income in for everyone, then what it's going to do is just make everything more expensive.
And create a bigger gap between the
Exactly.
people who are earning and who aren't earning.
Exactly, yeah. It would actually have the opposite effect to what they're hoping it's going to have, and make the have-nots provide more to the haves, and still be have-nots. But this encourages me because they're doing an experiment, and that's what I like to see. It's a lot better than just like government coming out one day and saying we're implementing UBI. They're actually going to look at this and see what the effects will be.
Yeah, because towards the end of the article in World News Daily, it said in addition to tracking what residents do with the money, Warren said that Warren, who I believe is co-chairman of the Economic Security Project, which is contributing $1 million to the project, Warren said that they will be monitoring how a basic income affects things like self-esteem and identity.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting sort of point. TransferWise are opening borderless bank accounts, and it's now in beta. Thanks to Kasim, who you may have heard the other show on gaming cryptocurrencies. He actually sent us the link to the beta, which you can find in the show notes. Not sure if this is just for UK listeners, but either way, it seems cool. Basically, TransferWise, which is a company run by some of the Skype co-founders, lets you send money internationally for really, really low fees, way lower than if you were sending with your bank. If you set up one of these borderless bank accounts with TransferWise, you'll have 28 currencies in a multi-currency account, you'll get international bank details, and a MasterCard debit card. So you'll get an Australian account number and BSB code, a British account number and sort code, a European IBAN, and a US account number and routing number. So you'll be able to receive money in a bunch of different countries in a bunch of different ways, and you can use your bank details to get paid in Australia, the Eurozone, US and UK, and you don't pay any fees. And it's super cool. So you'd have this MasterCard, you walk around wherever you go. You've just been abroad. What do you reckon of that?
It sounds great, mate, because the one thing that really kills you is these international transfer fees. Wherever you go, you're always worried about what currency you're using your card. I'm lucky enough to have a card that kind of already does this,
because there are some banks like Citibank and stuff that do.
They're kind of like a global bank, and they, that it means that if you've got a card with them, you don't get the same fees. But at the same time, you never really know what exchange rate you're getting behind the scenes. You're not paying the transfer fees, but you still get an exchange your money still gets exchanged at a certain rate, and I'm sure there's a little bit cut off the top every time you do use it. So.
So if you're a jet setter, or if you're doing business in a bunch of countries, I guess businesses might be able to use it. But
Well, the other great thing with this too is that you get accounts in different countries, and that's like I don't get that with my card, for example. But this actually gives you the ability to transact and put money in accounts in different zones.
so it's
Which
like
is
the
really
future of like this is like the international sort of globalization dream you'll hear about on the news. Doing business across markets and all those big terms, and like it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and it's kind of just it's interesting a little bit too, because why did this happen sooner? It's kind of like this crypto's really taken off last year, and now everyone's talking about it, and all of a sudden these banks are starting to say, well, we can do this too. we can do it without any fees, and you won't have to pay fees anymore. And it's kind of like they're trying to compensate for what's going on in the crypto world.
Got to play a big game of catch up.
That's right.
There's one of these blogs that I follow, really interesting piece. Why credit cards are getting heavier. And he's decided to call it the heavy card effect. But clever ploy by marketers, basically. A heavier credit card will influence people to spend more money. Let's call it the heavy card effect. Basically, people who have their CV on a heavy clipboard seem to perform better because there's more weight attached to it.
Wow.
So when you're at the checkout and someone's offering you, you're buying a laptop and they're saying, upgraded warranties, this, that, bolt-ons insurance, this, that. You're suddenly like, if it's a heavier card, you're like, I got the money.
Wow.
It's an interesting idea.
I wonder if me having a heavier wallet means I spend more. That sucks. I gotta fix that.
Buy more
Isn't the
stuff.
human brain weird, mate? Isn't it strange how that can actually be a thing? Mate, you've been raving about this bulletproof wood.
I got so excited when I saw this headline. It was on Chemistry World. Popped up in my feedly when I was doing my little rounds of the news. Basically, there's this chemical treatment. Scientists at the University of Maryland have found a way of making quote-unquote densified wood, which is 10 times tougher than regular wood. So what they do is collapse all of the little voids and pits in the natural wood, which reduces the defects and basically makes it stronger. Now, they've got a two-step process. First, they boil the wood in a mixture of chemicals. Then, the wood is mechanically pressed at 100 degrees Celsius, which squashes it into a really dense layer. And the process reduces the thickness by about 80%, but makes it 10 times tougher than natural wood. As strong as steel, but 6 to 7 times lighter, which means apparently it has, according to the article, it's leading to a specific strength higher than almost all metals and alloys. Even the lightweight titanium alloy, says Lian Bing Hu, one of the researchers at the University of Maryland who was on the project.
So, mate, CoinDesk, they did the state of the blockchain for 2018.
Yeah, it's like 100 and something page set of 170 different slides, a bunch of different bits of data in there. I'm looking at the top cryptos. Some really interesting takeaways. They were looking at where's all the money coming from this in Q4 of 2017. So they found that forks were the largest token generating event of the year with $44 billion created.
Wow.
So a fork, for if you're not familiar with it, it's when you take something like Bitcoin and you change a few bits in the code, make your own version, and make that, basically start working on that separately. And so Bitcoin Cash, that is a fork of Bitcoin. So that created $40 billion almost out of nowhere this year. And the remaining $4 billion was created by Bitcoin Gold. So $44 billion were created by forks.
So everyone's been talking about ICOs as if it's like this huge thing. Like what most of the money coming in was ICOs, but really it was Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Gold by a huge amount.
8 times more than ICOs.
That's unreal. All ICOs combined. Wow.
So then there was some just interesting stats. So they they gave a survey to about 3,000 people, probably people who are visiting their website. So these are crypto enthusiasts.
Yeah.
But of them, 97% of them were male that they interviewed. So it's a male-dominated survey. 94% of people check their prices at least every day of those surveyed. Of those, 56% every day and 37% every hour.
37%. There's some days I don't check my prices.
Yeah. There are only 5% of people, according to this survey, who check a couple of times a week.
Wow.
So it's very likely that this data is skewed because they just asked people who visited the CoinDesk website
Yep.
to fill out this survey.
Yep.
Chances are you're an enthusiast.
Yep.
So they probably just asked enthusiasts. But even so, 37% checking every hour. You know,
That's unreal.
Warren Buffett, he's the guy who's saying, look, if you're a farmer, you don't go out there valuing your house, your land, the price of all your goats, all of that every day. You
go insane.
Yeah. You walk out the front, you go, what can I do with this?
Yep.
But yeah, it's a different world out here.
Yeah, and look, we have all been there too. Like, I remember when I first, fell down the rabbit hole and got into crypto. Like, I was literally checking prices every hour, but it didn't last long. And then as you ease into it more and you get more comfortable with the whole investing in crypto, like when I was on holidays, mate, I reckon I nearly went a week without checking prices, just because it just doesn't bother me as much anymore. Just buy it, dollar cost averaging, get in certain time, and
Hodl.
the one thing that really interested me though, mate, was seeing that almost 50% of people think that this is a bubble.
And 40% say that it isn't a bubble.
So more people who are in this actually think that it's a bubble than not a bubble.
And this was taken towards the end of 2017.
Right, okay.
Prices were getting pretty high.
They were.
And yeah, interesting sort of stats. 60% measure their portfolio in US dollars, 23% in another fiat currency, 13% actually measure their portfolio value in Bitcoin.
Wow.
Which is kind of cool.
That is cool.
Good on them. I don't believe you, but good on you. And 37% bought a hardware storage device in 2017. So yeah, click on the link in the show notes to take a look at it. There's a bunch of information.
It's huge. Yeah, it's really worth a look because it'll just give you. It's kind of like just a big overview of everything that went on.
So yeah, pretty interesting.
Check it out.
Mate, so a lot has been happening in EOS. You know, there have been emails they're sending around. There's news about different updates. So much going on. Tell us more.
Mate, there is so much happening in EOS. So we first covered EOS in, I think, episode 2. Like, it was one of our first episodes. You can jump back through the show. We covered a whole bunch of the tech behind EOS. It's had us excited for a long, long time. And it's really cool to see just how far it's come from that point. And to also see that they're actually doing what they said they were going to do, which is great.
Essentially, the founder says that EOS is designed to deliver on the promises of Ethereum.
Yeah. So their view is essentially that Ethereum was a great tech demo. It did a lot of really important stuff and kind of awakened the collective blockchain consciousness to all the possibilities. You know, everything we could do with smart contracts. It's why I'm banging on about smart contracts so much all the time, because we've seen what Ethereum can do. But at the same time, there's some big issues. And just like MySpace didn't stay as the first social network, it got superseded by Facebook and Twitter and a few others. Same thing with a lot of these blockchain projects. It's kind of like, well, that was generation 1 or 2, and now this is the next generations. But what's got me really excited is the way they're approaching the concept of putting projects onto their platform. So with Ethereum at the moment, you've got all these ICOs, and we've talked about them, we've featured a few of them, but essentially, if you want to build like an application on the Ethereum platform, generally what you want to do is get yourself a token and do an ICO. So you get a whole bunch of people to buy into that, and what that happens is then people have value, they have skin in the game, and so they really want that platform to succeed. So it's quite a novel way to achieve the spread of your little distributed application on Ethereum. But it closes a lot of people off. A lot of them you got to invest a certain amount of money, and it just feels a bit scammy too. And what EOS have said, which is just awesome, is that they've said, we're going to take a whole bunch of the money that's been invested into EOS already, and we're going to give it back to the projects that are wanting to develop on our platform. So the first project that they've announced, and it's connected with a venture capital company which is run by one of the EOS founders. There's a lot of extra money coming in from that as well, and they're essentially doubling down. They're saying, we're just going to put everything into this, make it as great as we can. And the motivation behind that is that so people don't have to do ICOs.
Right.
So there's a project called Everipedia, and it's worth Googling. Have a look at it. Essentially, it's Wikipedia on the blockchain. It's like
cool.
Yeah, it's like an open source, decentralized Wikipedia. At the moment, Wikipedia is held on servers. You guys probably, whenever you visit Wikipedia, you see the little ad up the top saying, hey, we need to keep these servers running. Can you donate a certain amount? Blah, 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 blah. What Everipedia wants to do is put it on the blockchain so they don't have to do that. And also so they can host a whole bunch more articles and documents than there is on Wikipedia. And it's essentially a fork of Wikipedia right now. They elected EOS to host the Everipedia program on the blockchain, and there's a former Wikipedia founder at the head of it, so he was one of the guys that founded Wikipedia, so it's a big deal. And they're wanting to expand Wikipedia a lot more by putting it on the blockchain. Now, they were initially planning on doing an ICO, but they announced, I think, last week or the week before that instead they're not going to do an ICO. They're going to be airdropping their tokens to all of the EOS holders on the main chain once it's live.
Wow. So that almost VC fund, that block one, they're actually just funding that whole thing.
Yep.
And just giving that to everyone who's already bought EOS tokens.
That's right. So they're saying if you hold EOS tokens, you are going to get an equivalent amount of Everipedia tokens. And the tokens essentially allow you voting rights on and editing rights and certain rights that are associated with that token within the platform. But it's huge, mate, because what Block One are essentially doing is saying you don't need to run an ICO. We're going to pay your development costs to develop on our platform to make it better. And what it reminded me of was when Windows Phone first came out. You remember about like 5, 6, 7 years ago, Windows made a really big push to kind of break into the phone market. Like Apple and Android were really strong, and they were like, we want to get in on this. We missed the boat. They partnered with Nokia, made a whole bunch of pretty good phones. But the problem was that anyone that bought a phone logged into the App Store and they were like, I've only got like 10% of the apps that I get on Android or Apple, and even the ones that were on there weren't that great. And it was this really bad catch-22 of like, there wasn't enough apps because people weren't developing enough on the platform, but people weren't developing enough on the platform because there wasn't enough people, and there wasn't enough people because there wasn't enough apps, you know? So it was like this circular thing. If you think about it, had Windows have said, we're going to pay for all these developers to develop apps, all the apps that Android has, or all the apps that iPhone have, all the big ones anyway, on the platform before we even launch it, it could have made a huge difference because people would have jumped on and been like, well, everything's here, and I can plug it into a monitor as well because it's a Windows phone and I can run Windows on it. And that's what EOS is doing. They're wanting to make their platform as jam-packed with stuff when it launches that's free for everyone, and in fact will give EOS token holders like a share in all this stuff. The second thing since we last kind of gave you our EOS update was that Dawn 3 is out, which is essentially like a new version of EOS. It's still in beta, but it added a whole bunch of new features. There was a recent update that came out from Dan Larimer, the creator, and what he said was that they've decided that they're going to try and make EOS even more like an operating system on the blockchain than it was before. And you can we'll put the link in the show notes. You can go read the whole development update from Dan, but they're doing a lot of things to really try and make it so that you can spin up EOS blockchains really easily.
Right.
And even if you only have like one person that's a block producer, which has like voting rights, you can still do it. So, you know, even if you're like a small business, but you want your own little working EOS blockchain, they're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to do that. They're doing a whole bunch of other stuff as well, like fleshing out block production, metering, and compressing transactions, which are a bunch of technical terms, but if you're interested, you can go and read it. But the technical updates coming out of Block 1 make me really quite confident. Just seeing the amount of stuff that's getting done, they're kind of ahead of schedule, and a lot of the stuff that's coming out of there is really quite interesting and quite groundbreaking. And there's even hints that they're going to bring over Steemit, which we've talked about before. It's a social publishing platform on the blockchain, and they're talking about porting that over to EOS.
That would be keen,
Yeah.
because Steemit is it's the most used blockchain, or the most, what would you call it?
It's got the most transactions on it, I
Yeah,
think.
because the most things happening every
Yeah.
second on it. And, if you try running that on Ethereum, come back and report, see how it works, run it on EOS, it runs probably like knife through butter.
Yeah, and the big issue with Steemit apparently at the moment is that there's a lot of whales, which are essentially people that hold a whole bunch of the tokens and are just kind of hoarding them. So that's one of the big problems, and the EOS guys have talked about that and said, look, that's why we want to kind of bring that over and do that on EOS as well. So then the distribution of people that hold the tokens on that blockchain will be a lot bigger, because they'll go to all the EOS holders. And there's a lot of people participating in the crowd sale. So nothing certain yet on that one, but that's another interesting update as well. And yeah, mate, at the end of the day, I'm just really, the more I look at this, the more I'm confident that this is going to be quite a big platform in the future. We're yet to see if it's going to kill Ethereum. A lot of people are developing for Ethereum, and there's some great stuff going on there. But I'm not going to be surprised at all if you start seeing people jumping ship. And I'm pretty sure there is actually a company right now that's just started up that are talking about creating a program that will let you convert like a Solidity smart contract, which is the Ethereum language, into something that'll work on the EOS blockchain, which could be massive.
Because there's the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. Hopefully we'll talk about that in another episode. We're going to be talking about enterprise blockchains another time. But yeah, the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, a lot of big companies, I think including Microsoft, and a bunch of them all excited about this Ethereum thing. I'd be so interested to see what happens when they sort of really start paying attention to this EOS stuff.
Yeah.
If they're not already.
Yeah, and so look, if you're in any way into programming or software development, or if you're in the legal sphere, or even if you're just a business that's wanting to look ahead and say, what do I need to be clued up on? You could do a lot worse than looking at EOS. I'm quietly confident that it is going to be the definitive smart contract platform. Hashtag not investment advice, but the more and more I see what they're bringing out, look at their technical docs, I'm quite confident that it's going to be used very widely. And if you want to position yourself to be in a position to take advantage of that in the future, you could do a lot worse than getting yourself familiar with the EOS ecosystem, working out what skills you're going to need to be able to kind of pivot yourself into using that blockchain. And yeah, mate, I think they've got big things ahead. So definitely worth taking another look at EOS. We're actually going to be going to the inaugural Brisbane EOS meetup, aren't we, mate?
Yeah, so that's on the, what is it, the 7th of March 2018?
Yeah, it is, yeah. And so if you want to come say good day, if you're in Brisbane, or if you happen to be traveling in Brisbane at that time, it's on the 7th of March. We'll put the link to that in the show notes as well, and we're probably going to reach out to the organisers of that as well.
Thank you to all our regular listeners for tuning in. Pleasure having you here. And hello to our new YouTube subscribers as well. Thank you for joining us.
It's really good to have you here.
If you want to be part of the show, why not send us a voice recording? If it's under a minute long and it's in an MP3 or WAV file, something you can record on your phone, or microphone if you got one, but just record it on your phone, ping it over to us via our contact stuff, and we'll try our best to fit you in the show. Yeah,
and look, it really doesn't matter what you want to talk about. I mean, if it's news, if it's a few facts about an industry that you work in, or if it's something that you've just found that you think we'd find pretty cool, just send it through to us. We love interacting with our listeners. That's why we're on Slack. And we'd love to feature you on the show.
Be a part. Mate, new segment for the show. What's that all about?
Like we said at the start of the show, there's a whole bunch of news coming out almost daily now about hacks about breaches of privacy, about crypto being stolen, about people not taking proper precautions and inadvertently either, sending crypto to the wrong place or giving out their private key to someone and, them logging in and stealing everything. And we thought it was about time to start a new segment here on the FOMO show about privacy and security.
Yeah. So, why should we be caring about privacy and security?
Yeah, look, so the blockchain's quite different. It's unlike anything else we've ever seen, and it's permanent and it's digital. So what that means is that because it's permanent and because it's online, it's more vulnerable to hacking and tracking and all the pitfalls that's related to the internet. And the thing about being your own bank, we talk about being your own bank and how good it is, but the problem is that being your own bank also means you have to take responsibility for your money. And you have to take a lot of precautions, like the precautions that a bank takes. A bank has a whole anti-fraud division. A bank has a whole bunch of security around.
Sorry, I'm just sorry. I'm taking it seriously. Banks care about fraud. Of course they do.
Banks have vaults. They have security on the doors. They have a lot of. They encrypt their online sites. There's just a lot of precautions that they take to try and not lose their customers' money. Now, the thing about hostile actors like hackers and thieves and generally anyone that's trying to steal something from you is that they'll normally go after the lowest hanging fruit. It's the reason why a lot of people put extra locks on their cars or alarms on their cars. They garage their cars. Or, you still see people even putting the steering wheel locks in their cars. It's not to say that you can't still be broken into and have your car stolen. It's just that it's harder. It's all about making things harder, because if you're on a street and there's a car that isn't locked and all the other cars are locked on the street, it's more likely that thief is going to steal the car that's not locked and steals the keys in the ignition. The same thing's true for your privacy and security. If you can beef up your security even a bit and make yourself a little bit harder to find or track or whatever, it's less likely that someone's going to attack you when there's so many other targets around. Look at it.
So I saw this article today on the Register when I woke up, and it was terrifying. The headline was, "Talk down to Siri like she's a mere servant. Your safety demands it." Now, this is saying voice assistants get samples of our voice that can be remixed and faked. Now, this grandma in, I think it's the US somewhere, she got a call from someone claiming to be a policeman saying that her grandson, identified by name, had landed in jail. He'd hit a policeman while driving and texting. Policeman said they needed $4,000 in bail immediately. Old woman hung up, but the phone rang again, and the policeman said she could talk to her grandson. He came on the line pleading with his grandmother for bail money. She said she wouldn't do it, not because she was hard-hearted, because something didn't feel right. Anyway, long story short, she actually ended up getting in touch with her grandson and found the whole thing was a setup, a scam from the masters of the craft. Yet the level of detail possessed by the scammers, that was weirdly new. They tracked down this woman, found her phone number, worked out the name of her grandson, and that he lived in another town some miles away. Could they have got that off Facebook? Probably not. But it wouldn't be too hard to find enough personal details on social networks. It becomes a real straightforward process to trawl through other public databases, getting things together, and basically, someone had faked the voice and faked all the words. It's showing that in the future, things are going to be faked more, and this is one of the reasons why privacy is so important and why we put our voices out on the FOMO show. It's kind of scary, isn't it?
It is scary, and that's why we need to be conscious of this stuff, because as tech moves, the ability for people that don't have your best interests at heart to do some really rough stuff becomes more likely, the chances of it become higher. And so if you're going to make yourself... So the best way to combat it is just to make yourself harder to attack, So we're going to bring you some tips and resources each episode to help you in combating this stuff and being more private and secure. So we're going to have specific topics in episodes after this, but just for this episode, we just wanted to start with some easy steps you can take right now to be more private and secure. And these are all quite easy. and it's really worth starting these now, just to start getting in the habit of taking these steps.
So let's get into it. What do I need to do?
Okay, mate. First thing, this is really important for you because I know you're all over social media. You need to stop sharing your life on social media. I'm sick of seeing posts about what you had for breakfast.
Me topless on the beach?
Mate, they are no good.
People should not be seeing that.
People should not be seeing that. What is your future wife going to think of that? I don't know. I don't want to know. And I don't want to hear your personal dialogue on Facebook about it. So stop it.
What else can I do?
So apart from stopping sharing your entire life on social media, you can also get a VPN, which is a virtual private network. And what a virtual private network does is it routes all of your internet traffic through another server that's somewhere else. So essentially all your ISP, your service provider sees, and anyone else that's trying to monitor your usage, is traffic going to and from that server. There's no real data about what that traffic is. It just shows that you're sending it there and it's coming back. So for comparison, if you're operating without a VPN, someone watching your traffic can see all the servers that your traffic goes to. So it will see, if you're looking at Facebook, that your traffic's going to a Facebook server. It's a really easy way for basically anyone to monitor your traffic and build a profile on you. And that's okay if it's just your ISP looking at it normally, because they expect that you're looking at a whole bunch of different sites. But if it's someone that's trying to profile you to hack you, then that's a problem. So virtual private network, relatively inexpensive. There's a couple that we use personally that we'd recommend. Joe, you use private internet access, don't you?
Oh, no, it's great, yep.
Yep. And Proton VPN's the one I use, and they're the two that we can recommend personally. There's a lot of bad ones out there, so do your research if you're not going to go with one of those two.
And ultimately, it's based on trust. I mean, I trust private internet access, and I'm hoping that they don't log like they say they don't log. But, you know, it's just, VPN is better than no VPN.
Yeah, look, and the biggest tip we can give you for that one is you're better off going with a company that's in a country that really values privacy, like Switzerland. It's just a step that you can take that will really help. Relatively inexpensive. I think it only costs me about $5 a month or something for my VPN. It's not much, and it's well worth it.
Awesome.
You can begin looking into privacy cryptos as well, like PIVX, Zcoin, Monero, or NAV. We did an episode on privacy coins. I think it was episode 9.
Yeah.
Go back and look at that. We did a nice roundup on them. There were a couple we didn't cover. They are cryptos that help you stay more private on the blockchain as opposed to other cryptos which are a lot more public. The next thing you can do, and this is a big one, is stop giving out your email, mobile number, address, and real name to just any company. Your data is valuable, and they honestly don't need it. And tying in with that, you just need to start valuing your data a lot more too, I think, because your data is essentially,
as James Corbett says, data is the new oil.
And he's right, because it is really valuable. And the reason you can tell it's valuable is because so many companies sell your data to other companies. It's a commodity. You just have to start asking yourself, whenever you're filling out something, do these people really need my real details? Or is it good enough if I just give them a John Smith? So, and tying in with that, we'd really recommend starting to use encrypted email. So Proton Mail is one that I've got personal experience with, and we can recommend really highly. You can get free accounts with Proton Mail. They make their money by upgrading to advanced accounts, but honestly, the free accounts are amazing. And what it does is it encrypts your email sessions so that nothing is visible outside that actual session in the web browser. And it will encrypt if you're sending to another encrypted email address, it will encrypt your traffic between those two email addresses as well. So it's a lot harder for people to intercept that email traffic going somewhere else. And in line with that too, the other thing you can do is start using an email forwarder. So there's one called 33Mail, which I use, and it's really good because what you do is you essentially set up an account and you set up an address. So it could be joeblogs.33mail.com.
Right.
And then whenever you give out an address to a company, so say you say email1@joeblogs.33mail.com, that will automatically create that email address on 33mail's end and send that email to wherever you're redirecting it.
So it's a unique email address for each thing that you sign up for or use.
That's right. Yeah,
Wow.
and you don't need to create it. You just have to type it into whatever you're signing up for, and it will automatically send it to your 33mail account.
Ah.
And you'll be able to see who's sending you spam and also who's selling your data. Because if another company starts emailing you from an address that you signed up to with, company A, you know that company's selling your data. So it's a really cool way to actually see also who's not doing the right thing. But what it does predominantly is it protects your email address, and you can just turn them off. If you don't want to receive emails anymore from that address, you just turn it off in the back end, and you never get any spam from them again. It's really, really good.
Adding layers between them and you.
That's right. There's a couple more. Get a hardware wallet to store your private keys. We've talked about hardware wallets before, but Ledger Products and Trezor, as well as another company, they're great for this. Another thing you can do is if there's anything you can use two-factor authentication on, do it. Seriously, it makes things so much more secure. It's an extra layer. Attackers are going to go for the accounts that don't have two-factor authentication over one that does every day of the week. You can also get something. You can actually get something called a YubiKey, which is essentially like a USB that you plug in, and unless that USB is plugged in, it won't authenticate. But the moment that plugs in and you hit a button, it'll send a unique code to whatever you're using, and it'll authenticate it. You can wear it around your neck or put it in your wallet. And yeah, we just recommend not using something that's SMS based if at all possible.
Two-factor authentication is fantastic. I mean, Google have the Authenticator app. You can generate little it'll just have a code generator that just refreshes every 30 seconds or whatever. For a bunch of big companies have it, and just use it if it's there. It may add 5 seconds to each 15 seconds to each login. Makes it secure. When my Gmail account was hacked back in 2012, I think it was, that's when I switched to two-factor authentication for everything. And because it's embarrassing, ultimately, if you get hacked and someone emails everyone it's embarrassing. So get two-factor authentication,
especially with your Exchange accounts. If the option's there, use it. And the last thing, and this is just a little more practical, I guess, a little bit more in the physical world, but if you can, get a PO box, because the amount of times you have to put your address on something and you don't want to put your residential address down, but it's your only address, is amazing. So a PO box is quite an inexpensive way to give people something that doesn't tie it to your physical address.
So good little tip. So we'll be taking a deep dive into some of these things over the next few episodes. Because it's so important, and it's so fun and good to know. It's I enjoy a bit of security every now and then. I don't know about you, but it's good to have. All right, so bloodbaths. I mean, it's been a prolonged, not really bloodbath, more of a flash sale for a month.
But blood has been running in the streets, hasn't it?
It's been fantastic. I've been buying until I ran out of money, but what am I supposed to do in a dip though? I mean, things I own are suddenly worth less. Obviously, you don't realize it until you realize your gains until you sell them. But I mean,
so late last year, everything was going up and up and up and up and up, and I think a lot of people thought it was just going to keep going up, and what we've seen since has been a real crash. Like, everything's retraced like at least 50%. And it can be really easy in the dip to not want to buy anything. You feel like things are just only going to get worse. And there's this weird thing that goes on in your head when like things are going up, you want to buy more, whereas when things are going down, your instinct is not to buy more. We've got a few tips for what you should do in the dip. First big one is remember what made you interested in crypto in the first place. This is really important because when things were going up, there was a reason you were excited. And it wasn't just because things are going up. Like, it wasn't just because of the value. The thing about crypto and the blockchain in general is that the tech isn't going away. The money might the monetary value of it might go up and down, but the underlying tech is here to stay, and it's only going to get bigger. And you should really be gauging your investment on where you think this will be in 10 years, not in 10 days.
Because in 2028, how many more people are going to be in this?
That's right. If you look at the internet, when it was in its infancy compared to 10 years later, it was, at least a 70 or 80% uptake rate globally. Like, it was huge. And I think we're looking at a similar kind of uptake rate in the next 10 years for crypto. So you got to keep that in mind when stuff's going down and everyone's panicking and there's blood in the streets and all the so-called crypto experts have gone quiet because they don't know what to do. Remember why you got interested and look at a really long-term view.
So point 2, consider why you're interested in each crypto project. If it's fundamentally a great project, and does it change based on the value that the market gives it? No. Yeah.
And in a lot of senses, it actually makes it more attractive, because if it's still a great project and the market's not valuing it as much, that's an opportunity for you. But it is really important when you're considering in these dips what you should be doing to remember why you were interested in crypto projects in particular. Now, if you only got interested in something because you thought the price was going to go up based on the hype or the advertising, well, that's one thing. But if you've done an analysis on that project and you've said, I think this is really promising and it's got a big place in the future of the blockchain, then your choice to invest in it shouldn't be dictated by the market price. It should be dictated by you thinking it's really good and wanting to get in.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of these privacy coins. Since we had that episode 9, that got me so psyched for these privacy coins, because I think I saw a tweet from like Crypto Medici the other day, where it was something like, privacy coins are going to win the store of value war. Well, store of value war, something like that. But it's like, some of those things have gone up so high since when we did the episode on it. When we had that crash, some of those things were getting such attractive prices, I just couldn't get enough.
Yeah.
So that's point 3. You have a second chance at getting some of the previous prices.
It's essentially like there's big sale stickers on all this stuff. Like it's essentially like you're walking into the store and you see all these cryptos and there's big sale tags on them. The product hasn't changed. The product doesn't. It's the same thing in real life. The product doesn't change when they put something on sale. It's just that it's at a discount. And for a lot of these projects, if you are really interested in them, and especially if you regret not getting in earlier, if you came in halfway through the big price rise and were like, well, damn, I've missed the boat. Now you've got a second chance. The thing to remember too is that the best investors make their money in the dips. You look at Warren Buffett, for example. He's
trying to get a great company, at a good price. If the price of Coca-Cola goes down to something attractive to him, he'll pick it up.
It's the whole Robert Kiyosaki kind of take on it. The rich dad, poor dad take is you buy low and you sell high.
Yeah.
You look for those opportunities at the bottom and then you ride things back up to the top, and that's when you sell and you wait for the next dip.
And they don't. These opportunities don't come around every day, but there are opportunities every day.
Yep, and that ties in with the fourth point, which is that markets aren't rational. They're not. People respond to things based on emotion, and you've only got to look at the current state of the US share prices. Like so many of them are at an all-time high. There's just all this excitement around these shares, but there are huge issues. Like there is no reason why these share prices should be as high as they are, but somehow they are.
Markets are not rational. You're right. I mean, if you look at this, even with the stats we were talking about earlier from the CoinDesk State of the Blockchain.
Yep.
People checking their prices every hour, bruv. I mean, that's fair enough. Sometimes on some days you can see why if you're trying to get.
Well, if you're day trading, it makes sense for day traders to do it. But
very good point.
But if you're not day trading, what are you doing?
Get back to work.
Yeah, get out and do something productive. Your crypto will still be there at the end of the day, and you can check the price then.
It's true.
If you're not going to sell it, why check it every 10 minutes?
There's something addictive about that sort of thing, though, isn't
Yeah,
it?
there
it's
is.
real dangerous.
Yeah, it's really nice to check your Blockfolio and see that everything's gone up.
We all suffer from it, but just
Just don't get FOMO. Yeah. So the final point is simply to remember that we've seen this movie before. Dips happen, markets move in cycles, that's the way they always work. If you look at any market chart, if you pull the timeline out long enough, you'll see that there's a rise and then there's a fall. And there's a rise and then there's a fall. And things just follow these patterns. And that's how markets have always been. And generally, after there's a big rise, it's really, really common for there to be a big retracement as well. And normally the biggest dip is right at the start, and then things just start building back up again, and people slowly start kind of testing the waters and putting money back in. And then I'm sure in, however long, whether it be 3 months, 6 months, a year, we're going to see another big rise, and something similar is going to happen again. And it's learning to rewire your perspective during those times. I've said before, I make it a rule not to buy on green days, simply because I don't want to train myself to buy things when things are going up. I try as much as I can to train myself to buy things only when they're going down, because that's when you're getting a better deal.
We often we message every now and then in our Slack board when those days are happening.
Yep.
And as Matt says, we've seen this movie before. So get your inflatable armbands on. We're going on an adventure.
That's right. And look, if you're thinking you're making a bad decision, or if you're not sure about something, jump on the Slack. Seriously, there are people there. If it's not us, there's some other regulars that are going to be on there, and we can tell you, don't do it.
Yeah.
Just if you're thinking of buying on a green day, jump on. We'll tell you what we think.
We'll bring you down to a depressive level of no, don't buy it.
So there's our 5 tips of what you should do in a dip. Let us know if you've got any other questions. Otherwise, enjoy the bloodbath. So we didn't do a crypto of the week last episode, so we thought we might as well throw a few out this week just for good measure to catch up. And look, these are projects that we think have some really, really promising things going on with them. It's not financial advice, but we recommend taking a look at these projects and just seeing what you think. The first project is BlockCat. And what BlockCat are doing, they had an ICO about 7 or 8 months ago, and their MO is they want to create a platform where it's really easy to make smart contracts. Now, their whole goal is to essentially make it so that anyone can jump in and create smart contracts for almost anything. And the example they used when they were doing their ICO was when you're ordering a pizza. So if you say you want to order a $20 pizza and it's between 4 people, you could jump on BlockCat and create a simple smart contract with a couple of if this then that statements, and have everyone contribute 5 Ethereum to this contract, put that all together and buy the pizza. And they want it to be that easy. They've got a beta out now, which is up on their website. There's not much you can do except launch a token, but they're going to be adding to it as time goes on. And I've been following their weekly updates now for a few months, and it's really interesting to see those updates come in and see what the team's working on. And the reason I've chosen to highlight it this week is because they've just, in their latest update, they said they've got a big development that's just about to come out. They've kind of been holding back a lot of the tech because they've been working on something, and they've said that it's pretty much done and that no one is doing what this smart contract is able to do. So it's really worth a look. I think if you're looking for something that may be about to break out, then this is a possibility, simply because they've got a good team behind them, and it sounds like they're about to unveil something quite interesting. So another thing, and look, this isn't something that you can actually invest in, but it's something really interesting that's happening. It's called Cointext, and it's created by Vin Armani, who we've featured his podcast on our podcast before. Essentially what it is it's allowing people to SMS Bitcoin Cash to each other. And the whole premise behind it is that everyone has a mobile phone number, or pretty much everyone has a mobile phone number. And that mobile phone number and the messaging system can actually hook into the blockchain if you design a bit of code to do that. And that's what they've done. And what it allows you to do is essentially send Bitcoin Cash to anyone's mobile number, and once they receive that, it automatically creates a wallet for them. And they can actually query the blockchain from their phone, so they can text balance to the number, and they can also work out their public key from that number and access their wallet from that number and send money to other people from that number. So it's a really cool melding of old technology with new technology. And the whole premise behind it, of course, is that if we're going to get adoption, we need to kind of bootstrap the blockchain onto some existing technology to get people really interested in it. It's called Cointex. It looks really interesting. It's in closed beta at the moment, so you have to apply to get in. And I think they're hitting open beta in March, but it's something to really keep on your radar, and because I think it looks really promising.
What is it is keen that they're like adding that onto the whole like SMS system, a new wallet for each thing, similar to that whole Tipper thing you were talking about for whatever it was.
I think that was the
Reddit?
inspiration for it, actually.
So this week's cool tool is meetup.com. So it's a really, really useful site. If you, wherever you live in the world, most places you could possibly live in the world, minus like Antarctica, North Korea, meetup.com is something you can sign up to. It lets you, as the title might suggest, meet up with people in your local area. There are for for a bunch of different interests, whether you're whether it's mid-30s jogger mums, or whether it's blockchain events, whether it's investors and finance people interested in philosophy, language speaking clubs. They got all of that on meetup.com. And there are a bunch of different crypto things happening around the world. So if you want to find some cool crypto events to attend, check out meetup.com, create an account. It seems pretty cool. You can just find some events near you, see if there's anything worth turning up to. The worst that can happen is you meet someone else who's interested in crypto.
Yeah, and look, I've got to admit, I got on this way later than I should have. I did not know this was a thing until I think you might have even told me that you were going to this meetup, and I was like, oh, how'd you find that? And it's like, oh, just the app.
Oh, yeah.
And so I checked on my phone that afternoon, and I found Meetup, and I was like, are you kidding? Like, I didn't know about this for years. And there was there's meetups for everything. You get to go to, a bar or like a little restaurant or whatever with a group of like-minded people. And normally there's, some interesting speaker, and it's great. You make a lot of connections. And I can't recommend meetup.com enough. I mean, these next few weeks, I've got several meetups that I'm planning on going to that I've just found on meetup.com, and I've looked at them and gone, look, that looks good. Just go along, see what's happening. I've been to a couple that were not as great, but then I've been to some really, really, really good ones too.
Yeah, you get the good with the bad, but it's so worth it. Because I mean, like, even if you just meet one cool person at one of these events, it's that's awesome. Like, that's super. You can make a friend for life at one of these just by going to one event.
Seriously, and it's especially true when you don't have anyone to talk to about something. Like, you'll find that you'll get interested in something, and like, I'm interested in ice hockey. Really interested in ice hockey. Like, I've on my recent trip, I finally fulfilled my dream of seeing my ice hockey team play live. And for years, I just haven't really had anyone to share that interest with. I do have a few people now, but if you've got anything like that, the chances are you'll find a meetup for it, and you can go there and you can talk with a whole bunch of other people that are really enthusiastic about what you're enthusiastic about.
So if you're struggling to explain to your dog how the blockchain works and why Dogecoin is the next big thing, go to meetup.com, check out some blockchain and cryptocurrency. Take your dog with you. You'll make a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
Meetup's great. I've enjoyed it.
Check out meetup.com. Jordan?
Oh, is that Matt?
Oh, sorry, Jordan. I didn't have my my sound turned on. Are you there?
Oh, yes, sir. How are you doing, huh?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Oh, it's been a long time, huh? You've been away. It's been a busy time, huh?
Yeah, it has, Jordan. But look, mate, I've got to be honest. We haven't got any articles from you. the last few weeks? What's been going on?
It's been a while. I've been very busy. There's been some administration work. I've been buying a new house. I actually moved. I'm actually moved to a nice little Turkish village on the southern border. It's a place called Kilis. That's what I'm doing. But I tell you what, I'm going to get you an article as soon as feasibly possible. I mean, I heard that Joe is trying to get this one on selling your, funny crypto money, but I will get you an article for the website ASAP.
Right, okay. That's good, Jordan. I appreciate that. Has there been any update on the BitConnect, the class action lawsuit that you were trying to file?
Look, my legal team say I should not be speaking anything about that. In fact, what is BitConnect? I've never heard of it. No idea. Jordan has nothing. He knows nothing about BitConnect. Nothing. City.
Okay, but Jordan, there's still a lot of people after you, isn't there? I mean, should you really be telling us what town you're in?
Oh, that is a very good point, huh?
Oh, that's weird. We seem to have lost him.
Mate, he does this all the time. He just hangs up on me.
Just
and
as
then,
you get to the real pertinent questions.
I know. I start pressing him about when he's going to have his articles in and telling him his wife's still chasing him.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden,
I've got
it's
things to do.
breaking up. I can't hear you. And then all of a sudden he's gone.
This guy's an absolute tool.
So we're going to do a couple of listener questions now. And the first question comes from Luke. He's asked us to chat about the rumours that Ripple might be joining Coinbase.
While Ripple, it'll eventually probably be on Coinbase. If it would be a total surprise if it didn't. The question is, why is this being pushed now? Rumors of Ripple. The same thing. When what was it? Bitcoin Cash got added on. Suddenly there were, and you had the Coinbase people, insider trading, and all this, and pushing the price up and all that. To me, it seems like it's just people trying to push the price of Ripple up because it's dropped.
Yeah.
And that's why I reckon, I don't personally own Ripple, but yeah.
And you do see it a lot. I mean, you check Feedly every day and you'll get up in the morning and you'll see is this Bitcoin's next bull run? Like, is Bitcoin primed? And, someone will be saying that today is the day that Bitcoin's finally going on a run. And then someone else will be saying the opposite. And it just seems to be that the news cycle tries to encourage people to either buy or sell based on what people want the market to do.
So it could be happening, but
it could.
I'm not going to trade it. I won't trade on a rumor.
So we've also been asked to talk about our thoughts on regulations this year and what we think governments are going to try and achieve with regulation.
Just on a speculation point here, just pure speculation. Governments want to be able to tax it, so I would not be surprised if governments don't start requesting public addresses, to be able to, I'm just going to go out there and say, just requesting public addresses so they can actually monitor all your transactions so that they can make it a taxable event.
Yeah, and look, you could see it happening with, even like giving your details over, couldn't you? You could be like, what's your name, what's your address, what's your mobile number, what's your public key?
And even they could even just request that off Coinbase directly. So it's just like how employers collect tax on your behalf and pay the tax on, so you don't even get to avoid tax as an individual.
Yeah,
could just be the same that way. They just go, look, right, Coinbase, you're never going to be able to operate in the US or Australia unless you give us all this data. And Coinbase will definitely comply. Yeah. I would comply if they said that. I just you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think that's definitely right, mate. I think that the biggest thing governments are going to want to achieve is to be working out how much money people have invested in it, and how many, even if it's unrealized gains, how much unrealized gains they are making off this stuff. Because as we know, the thing that governments like most of all is to know what everyone's doing all the time. And if there's any chance you're evading tax, well. They want to know about it. So I think that's the biggest thing that regulations will try and achieve. But of course, then you've got the ICOs, which are disrupting the traditional venture capital market. And I'm sure there are some countries where venture capital companies have significant ties to the government. And I'm sure those venture capital companies, if they're not getting in on the blockchain, are probably stomping up and down about the fact that their model is being disrupted, and they can't do things the way that they normally do things anymore. So you could see governments clamping down on ICOs as well. But I think generally it's going to be more and more about controlling the blockchain, controlling how people interact with it.
Interesting. We were having a chat in the Slack the other week. It was Luke who actually shared the link to the SEC statements that were made in advance of a hearing on I think it was a Senate hearing on cryptocurrencies and regulation. I believe that's what it was. It seemed like the SEC was saying, look, we don't want to ruin it for people, but we do want to protect people. And so in some ways it wouldn't surprise me if this year we see cryptocurrencies more classed towards the area of securities, so that the insider trading, a bunch of other regulations that apply to securities apply to these as well, or broadening definitions on those. I have no idea about the law. I'm not a lawyer or nothing, so that's what I'm reckoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, and talking smart contracts as well, I think you might start seeing some efforts to give some clarity about what is going to be binding and what isn't going to be binding, and whether there should be any standards about how that all operates as well, and how that interacts with the law. I think just generally, it's the governments are going to increasingly have to address a lot more of this stuff. They've stayed pretty silent so far, but it's only going to be a matter of time before they have to address a lot more of this. So, yeah.
Yeah, good
So that's
question.
our take
Thank
on
you.
regular. Yeah, great. Thank you, Luke, for the questions. It's
And what do you reckon? If you've been listening and you're like, oh, this is what I reckon is going to happen with the regulation this year, drop it in our Slack. Let us know. Like, where do you think, what sort of things do you reckon government's going to be doing? Drop us a note in our Slack. Let us know.
cool. So if you know someone who might enjoy the podcast, please feel free to share it with your friends.
Yeah, you can find us at FOMO.show.
You can also jump in our Slack at FOMO.show/Slack.
Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter at _FOMO_show.
You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/TheFOMOShow.
And YouTube at FOMO.show/YouTube.
Well, that's it for us here at The FOMO Show. Thank you so much for joining us. If you like our show, please subscribe in your podcast app of choice. That'll let you know the moment we publish a new episode. I'm Matt.
And I'm Joe.
And as always, remember,
No FOMO.
My name is Crypto Jack. I sail around the crypto world.
It's the best pirate I've ever seen.
anyway,
I really hope I don't accidentally forget to cut that part out.
really need it.
Put it in the show. Oh, I really hope I cut that out. Really do.
Joe, please, if you're hearing this and you haven't cut it out,
Cut it out. It's not even made for. That's literally not like.
we can't.
There are things that you're not allowed to talk about.
Yeah. We're all just consciousness being controlled by reptilian aliens from the moon.
Easy. Simple. Simple. It's what I heard on a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Must be true.
Everything on YouTube is true.
It's true.
Thunder.
Da-da-da.
Thunder. And I was shaking the knees.
That was so good.
We should do a where can you find us in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah. At my home. In my bed. Sleeping quietly. Best graph I've seen in years.